You guys, the New England Patriots absolutely dominated in preseason game week 1 against the Washington Commanders. They picked up really exactly where they left off during the 1 day of joint practice with Washington. And I said, look, that joint practice, while it's great that the Patriots won after getting blown out of the water in joint practice last preseason against the Philadelphia Eagles, it's a good sign. But one practice doesn't say anything to me. Okay, if you are going to be the better team, you got to be the better team on multiple occasions. And that's what the Patriots did. Now, look, let's put the caveat on this before we get into it, okay? Because I know there's going to be people in the comment section. Dude, don't freak out. It's the preseason game. I know it's a preseason game, okay? Preseason games don't necessarily mean a whole lot, but there are certainly takeaways. And I had Washington fans getting upset with me when I was on a podcast saying that the Patriots won joint practice, but they did. And guess what? What they did in that joint practice carried over, allowing them to absolutely dominate the Washington Commanders. I mean, 48-18. I tweeted this out in real time during our live watch party. I said, look, I know this might sound greedy, but we've had back-to-back seasons with 4 wins. I want the Patriots to put up 50 damn points right now against the Washington Commanders. I don't care if it's preseason or not, baby. Give me a 50 burger, man. Give me a 50 burger. And if a couple of plays went a little bit differently, we would have had that. Nonetheless, though, up to the point. Now, look, there's preseason games today. There's preseason games tomorrow, so we'll have to see. But as of right now, the New England Patriots' 48 points are the highest among all preseason games so far through week 1. Why is this a takeaway? Because the Patriots have had one of the worst offenses in the NFL over the last 2 years. Now, I know that this was a group effort, but nonetheless, the New England Patriots putting up 48 points as a football team, preseason or not, makes me feel like this team is not going to struggle to put up 20 points in a game. Because that's how bad it was. If the Patriots were able to put up 20 points in a game, us Patriots fans in 2023, 2024, we were pretty damn happy. But it feels like that narrative is changing under Mike Vrabel. There's a few things I want to kind of get into before we start breaking down each position and break up my overall thoughts here. But something else that I want to talk about too is that it just felt like clean football is back in New England. When I say clean football, I don't just mean turnovers. And I know that Drake may put the ball on the ground, but I just mean competent coaching. Because last year in the preseason, it was a damn train wreck. You had Gerard Mayo not understanding how to run a 2-minute drill, not understanding how to utilize the clock, not utilizing his timeouts. He had absolutely no idea what he was doing, but we chalked that up to, well, okay, he's a first-year head coach. Let's give it some time to play itself out. And we didn't, and really nothing ever changed. I mean, even in last year's preseason, really all season long, you could even attest to this over the last 2 years. One of the Patriots' biggest problems has been penalties. Shooting themselves in the leg, not being prepared, not being a disciplined football team. But that wasn't the same thing here. 2 total penalties today, or yesterday. 2 total penalties that were accepted. Now, Mike Vrabel was asked about this in his post-game press conference, and he still wasn't happy. He said, yeah, 2 penalties that were accepted, but we had a lot of penalties that offset themselves. Just because they offset themselves doesn't mean they don't matter, because in an actual game, they might not be offsetting, and it could actually hurt our football team. So I like that Mike Vrabel is still hard on his players for that, because, look, whether it's 2 penalties or not, whether it's 1 penalty, that's 1 penalty that's too much. 1 penalty that could be the difference between you winning and losing a football game. But it is still a step in the right direction for this football team that felt like they were averaging, 10 penalties per game, more specifically on the offensive side of the football. And that's why this offense has struggled, whether it was under Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones or whether it was under Drake May and Jacoby Brissett. The offensive line, more specifically, would constantly put this team in a bad position where it would be 3rd and long, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20. Not because the offense is going backwards, but because of the stupid penalties of this team constantly shooting themselves in the foot. I think Mike Vrabel, his style of coaching, he's come in here, he's had the players prepared, and he has the players making sure that they are disciplined and understand fundamental football. Again, it's just something we haven't seen in so long, and I know that some fans are going to say, Colby, that is such a little detail. Why does it matter? But it is, and it does matter. And to the fan who right now is saying, how can a preseason game be a statement win? I've heard about you. I know you're a Buffalo fan, and I've heard about you, Sean. I've heard about you. Very negative to all the AFC East people here, man. All right? Trust me, I've heard about you, man. But you're going to damn well find out. You're going to damn well find out why this is a statement win. And actually, I've already talked about it, so you're late. Resume, my guy. Resume the show, and you'll see exactly why. But let's go ahead and let's get into a couple more things. Obviously, just joking, man. Obviously, just joking. It's all love. It's all love. Sometimes people don't understand my sarcasm. Sometimes it doesn't come through, but I'm a very sarcastic guy. That's my humor. But a couple more things I want to get into before we start breaking down the stats. Starting off with, I want to talk about the rookies a little bit. I want to talk about the rookies, and then I want to go into each individual position. So starting off here with Will Campbell. Now, Will Campbell was actually one of the highest graded Patriots coming out of this game. Now, do as you wish, take away what you will from PFF grades, but according to PFF, because they release grades that for offense and defense, guys that were elite, guys that were above average, average, below average, and then just played absolutely poor. You had Will Campbell playing at an elite level. He was one of the highest graded Patriots. So I thought that he performed pretty well. We didn't get a great look at him. In fact, Will Campbell, I have the numbers in front of me right now. Will Campbell only played 22% of the Patriots' offensive snaps, meaning that he only played 14 total snaps for New England. That equated to about 2 to 3 drives for the starting offense that we got to see. Because I'm not going to lie, I think we saw a little bit more from the starters than I was expecting. The offense got about 2-3 drives. The defense got even more looks. They got like 4 or 5 drives almost the entire first quarter, which was a little bit surprising to me. But Will Campbell, I thought, looked pretty good. I think in pass protection, it's still certainly a work in progress, but that's something that, we knew. That's something that we've heard about Will Campbell even since being drafted. I think that Will Campbell has been everything that has been advertised. We knew coming out of the draft that he was someone in pass protection, that he had really good mechanics, but transitioning to the NFL, he was going to have to work on a few things. He wasn't going to be perfect and spotless week one. But we knew that in the run blocking, that's where he would shine. That was his bread and butter. We saw that all throughout training camp. We saw that in joint practice, and we saw that in this preseason game. I mean, on several plays, Will Campbell providing key blocks for Ramondre Stevenson, providing key blocks for Travion Henderson. For those who watched the game, the outside run, the only run that Travion Henderson got outside of his kick return, it went for 18 yards, bounced it to the outside, bounced it to the left more specifically, and Will Campbell provided such a good block that it allowed Travion Henderson to burst off for 18 yards, get a big splash play. Will Campbell, which is probably something a lot of you didn't know because the camera didn't really show it, but Will Campbell then brings the guy to the ground and pancakes him, gets up, and he's pumped. That's the energy you're looking for. So again, you want Will Campbell to still develop a little bit more in pass protection, especially as he transitions to the regular season where he's going to be facing some of the best edge rushers on any given week. But I think he's developing. And I think that what we saw from this team, specifically in this preseason game, is that they are going to run the damn ball. Okay, they're going to pass the ball. Don't get me wrong, but they're going to run the damn ball down a defense's throat, and that's how they are going to win. It kind of feels like this is going to be 2021. Mac Jones didn't have to do a whole lot. They just ran the ball, and they asked Mac Jones to work off of play action and work off of what the defense was giving him and just be careful with the football. And I think they'll ask Drake May to do a little bit more than Mac Jones, of course. I mean, Drake May is obviously a significantly better quarterback, but I think while this offense is ironing out some of the issues it has with the offensive line and pass protection, working with the chemistry with its receivers, the way that this offense is going to put up points early on, and this offense is going to find its footing and consistency, is going to be by running the football. And thankfully, that is something that Will Campbell, straight off the bat, is going to be dominant at. Moving on to Travion Henderson. And yeah, baby, Travion Henderson is here, baby. In fact, dare I say, I know some of you hate this, but we got to celebrate in the chat, man. Travion Henderson, baby. What a damn game, okay? And look, I want to say this one more time. It's a preseason game, and it's only one game, okay? One game is, I don't want to say it's luck, but it's not a trend yet. I can't rely on you just after one game. 2 games is a trend. So let's see if he can continue to pick it up where he left off. But I mean, TreVeyon Henderson might very well be the best running back, at least in the preseason. And in this first preseason game, TreVeyon Henderson very well might be the best running back from the 2025 class. Now, I'm not saying that overall down the stretch he's going to be the better back. Maybe he will. I don't know. But specifically for preseason week 1, TreVeyon Henderson is looking like he is the best damn back out of this entire draft class. I mean, immediately, the first carry of the game, not even the carry, but the kickoff. You got Antonio Gibson in the end zone. You got TreVeyon Henderson in the end zone. Gibson goes to block. TreVeyon Henderson gets the ball. TreVeyon Henderson puts on the burners, and it's a 100-yard touchdown. Can you believe that one day TreVeyon Henderson is going to tell his kids that his first NFL touch in a game was a 100-yard kick return? On top of that, TreVeyon Henderson only had 1 attempt on the ground. Only 1. In fact, he played... Let's see. So he played... I want to make sure I give you guys these numbers correctly. Oh, wow. So TreVeyon Henderson actually played less than I thought. So TreVeyon Henderson played the second least out of all offensive players. TreVeyon Henderson, 7 total snaps in this entire game. 7 total snaps and 11% of offensive snaps in this game. Only one person played less, and that was Hunter Henry. And in these preseason games, playing less, as long as you're not injured, of course, but playing less is better because it tells us that the team thinks that you're going to be a big part to the offense in the regular season. They don't need to see too much more from you, and they just want you to be healthy. So the fact that TreVeyon Henderson didn't play, I think in large part because of how he performed early on, is a big testament that he's going to have a big role in this offense in this upcoming season. But again, only 1 attempt on the ground, and he goes for 18 yards. Got a couple of attempts through the air, and we'll talk about that when we start breaking down the stats. But again, 7 total snaps. He has a 100-yard kick return touchdown. He has an 18-yard run on his lone touch on the ground. I thought TreVeyon Henderson was the player of the game, undoubtedly. So then you get into Kyle Williams. And Kyle Williams was graded poor for the Patriots. In fact, let me tell you exactly what his grade was. So he put up an overall grade, according to PFF, of 42.8. So he put up what PFF considers a poor grade. Now, I'm not saying that Kyle Williams was perfect, but I think that Kyle Williams also wasn't really put in the position to succeed. I mean, early on, do I think he could have done a little bit better? Yes, but this is his first NFL game. He's going to have jitters. He's trying to calm down. I thought when Josh Dobbs came in, I thought that's when Kyle Williams started to shine. I mean, let's keep in mind, Kyle Williams should have had a big play down the field, running as outside receiver, just a straight go route, and Josh Dobbs underthrows him. Ball should have been picked. I mean, underthrows him by a few yards. Kyle Williams had no chance. I mean, he had to step on the defender. All Josh Dobbs had to do was put the ball in front of Kyle Williams, and that is an easy opportunity for Williams to go out there and make a play. Would Williams have caught the ball? Who knows? But on that play specifically, based off of where Josh Dobbs put the football, Kyle Williams just never had a chance. A few plays before that, they were in the red zone. The Patriots had an opportunity to put 7 points up on the board. It's 3rd down. Kyle Williams is on the outside, runs a slant, has 2 steps on the defender. Nobody's around him. If Josh Dobbs hits Kyle Williams out of his break in the red zone, that is an easy touchdown for the rookie. But what happens? Josh Dobbs doesn't see him until a few seconds later, which is absolutely pivotal. In a football game, a few seconds is like hours in reality. But by the time he sees Kyle Williams, throws him the ball, Kyle Williams is sandwiched between 2 defenders. Josh Dobbs was lucky that wasn't a pick in the end zone. So you're going to hear the stats later on, and we're going to talk about Kyle Williams, and everybody's going to be like, oh, Kyle Williams wasn't good. Kyle Williams was targeted all these times, and he did nothing with it. It's like, well, was he perfect? No, but watch the film back. It felt like pretty much every single pass that went his way from Josh Dobbs, it really wasn't much of a catchable ball. And I don't think that Kyle Williams is a guy who has a crazy catch radius to make up for super inconsistent passes. I will say, though, I was surprised to see Kyle Williams out there as much as we did, because he was even out there in the 4th quarter, which obviously Kyle Williams is going to make this roster. But to me, that tells me that this coaching staff isn't maybe exactly happy right now with where Kyle Williams is at. They felt like they had to go out there and play him for pretty much this entire preseason game because his inconsistencies. They don't know what to expect from him. They want him to still develop as a third-round pick. And that potential is there, and we saw it, but he's not there yet. And that's why they had him play almost the entire game. And again, the fact that he was out there for 25 total snaps, that was 39% of the Patriots' offensive snaps, I think that says a lot. But as for, I want to make sure I get this right, actually, because I didn't actually see where he was on this list. But you had Jared Wilson also with the starters. He was in at left guard. He graded as... Let's see. Okay, so Jared Wilson, according to PFF, had an average grade. An average grade over at left guard. Again, take that with a grain of salt, but they gave him an overall grade of 60.2. So not a bad showing from him. We also didn't get to see too much of him. He got a total of 14 total snaps, so 22% of the offensive snaps, but that was the same with all of the starting offensive line. So the starting offensive line, like I said, they were out there for about 3-4 offensive drives. It went Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, Garrett Bradbury, which, by the way, Garrett Bradbury was ranked as an elite. Garrett Bradbury had a overall grade of 92.7. That was the highest graded Patriot from this game. I mean, offensively and defensively, Garrett Bradbury was the highest graded Patriot in preseason week 1, according to PFF, as crazy as that sounds. I thought there were a couple of rough plays from him, so I don't really agree with that personally, but he certainly wasn't bad. But again, Garrett Bradbury at center, Mike Onwenu at right guard, and then you had Marcus Bryant, the Patriots rookie 7th-round pick, over at right tackle with Morgan Moses out. So overall, I don't think there's too much to say about Jared Wilson. I don't think he necessarily shined. I didn't think he was bad, but he's certainly going to be an upgrade over what they had last year. And I think that the more he plays in these preseason games, the better he's going to be because, I mean, Jared Wilson was the best player for the Patriots throughout training camp. Then you move on to a couple of the other Patriots rookies, and I don't think there's too much to say about these guys. I mean, Craig Woodson had some moments where I thought he could have been better. I thought he could have made a couple of plays. There was I believe it was like a 2nd and 1 or a 3rd and 1. And it wasn't even 1. It was like inches. It was exactly 10 inches. I remember because they brought out the chains, but it wasn't like the real chain movers. It's the virtual chain thing that the NFL is implementing. And they were 10 inches short of a first down. I was like, this is going to be easy for the Commanders. Craig Woodson gets behind the line of scrimmage as soon as the ball is snapped to tackle the ball carrier for a loss. But Craig Woodson gets stiff-armed to the ground with a welcome to the NFL moment. The running back bounces it to the outside and gets a first down and more. So I thought that, Craig Woodson had a couple of rough moments. He was graded as... Where is he? Craig Woodson was graded... So he was graded as below average with a 49.6 overall grade. Again, take that as you will, but I think that's fair. I think Craig Woodson didn't have a great game. I thought he's, been a little bit more quiet throughout training camp, especially compared to what we saw in the preseason, but he's also playing deep safety. So, again, take that as you will. So got to see a little bit of a look at Braden Swinson. I have to go back and look at the film on him. I got to see his matchups, his one-on-one reps a little bit better to really take anything away from him. But, Marcus Bryant, that Patriots rookie 7th-round pick that we talked about a little bit earlier, him repping in at starting right tackle in absence of Morgan Moses, I'm really happy to see that. I'm really, really happy that we see that because DeMontre Jacobs was your swing tackle at this point. Vidarian Lowe was out, and the guy that was repping in at right tackle behind Moses throughout training camp was DeMontre Jacobs. And that was something that I seriously was just not a fan of. I said, DeMontre Jacobs was one of the worst tackles in the NFL last year. He should not be our swing tackle. He should not be the backup behind Morgan Moses. And I thought that, Marcus Bryant, was he perfect? Not by any means, but did I like to see him there? Did I like him getting the opportunity to rep with the first team offensive line? Yes, because he's somebody who's like 6'7". He has the size. He has over 500 snaps of experience at left tackle and right tackle at the collegiate level. So he's actually my personal favorite to be the swing tackle for the Patriots this upcoming season. Let's see where he graded. So Marcus Bryant graded as below average with a 59.2 overall grade according to PFF. So again, was it perfect? No, but as a 7th-round pick, you also understood that he was going to be a bit of a work in progress. You're not asking Marcus Bryant to be your starting tackle this season. But all right, now it's stat time, my friends. Now it is stat time. So let's go ahead. Let's pull up the stats. Let me scooch over a bit. And let's break these down. So I want to start off with the quarterbacks here. I will go in order. So as for Drake May, because we'll start off with him, it was a little bit disappointing that I felt like Drake May didn't get more opportunities to throw the ball in this game. Only 5 total attempts. I thought he was only going to be out there for a drive, but I think after how the first drive ended, you had Mike Vrabel say, nah, we need to go back out there and we need to end this thing on a high note. You're not getting the luxury of sitting on the bench after that play. But immediately Drake May comes out, right? And the first offensive drive goes run play, screenplay. If Josh McDaniels isn't back, man, I mean, that's an obvious sign. But on the 3rd down play, you then had Drake May strip sacked. It was a pass play. We finally got to see what he was able to do, and he gets strip sacked, right? And I think that's the one thing that Drake May could not do in this game, whether he lit the preseason up or not, whether he went to hand the ball off on every single snap he was in the game or not. The one thing he could not do is turn over the football, because he averaged 2 turnovers last year between him putting the football on the ground, between him throwing interceptions. He was averaging 2 interceptions per game. And that is the biggest thing that he needed to work on. I mean, Josh McDaniels in his offense, you cannot turn the football over. I mean, the Patriots literally have a sign, you guys. Okay, they literally have a sign in the building that says team identity. Okay, so there is this sign that is put up on the wall, and it tells all Patriots players, this is what we are based off of. These are the fundamentals you have to fall under. Number 1 is effort and finish. Number 2 is ball security and ball disruption. 3 is details, technique, and fundamentals. And 4 is make great decisions. I think for 2 and 4, Drake May failed because he didn't have ball security. He didn't make a great decision. And in the post-game press conference, Mike Vrabel was asked how he felt about that. And the reporter actually kind of told him, like, I'm sure you don't feel good about this. And Vrabel was pissed. Vrabel kind of went off on the reporter a little bit. Like, that's how upset he was about that fumble from Drake May. Look, is it a preseason game? Yes. But when those were your biggest struggles last year that put the team in harm's way, that is something you need to improve upon. And the exact play, the exact sequence on how Drake May got strip sacked is exactly what we saw last year. Drake May trying to bounce outside the pocket, trying to avoid the pressure, avoid the sack. The defender is on his back, bringing him down. And while Drake May is being brought down, he's trying to throw the ball. And it was close because it was almost an incomplete pass. But unfortunately, his arm was just a split second too late at coming forward. Ball hits the ground. It becomes a fumble, and the Commanders took over at the 30-yard line. Now, ultimately, the defense stepped up, kept the Commanders at the 30-yard line. They attempted a field goal. They missed it. It didn't matter. But again, that's not the point. The point is when you play a better team come the regular season, that offense is going to capitalize pretty easily with 7 points, which could go a long way at winning or losing the game. So with that being said, you look at that play by Drake May. What he was trying to do was was just trying to avoid the loss of yards for the offense. He was trying to throw the ball out. He was trying to throw the ball to the ground, just trying to make it an incomplete pass rather than a sack. But by doing so, he tried to do too much rather than just saying, take the sack and live to see another down, ended up turning the football over. There was another play, too, to Matt Collins down the sideline to where I thought, good decision to give Matt Collins that 50-50 opportunity down the sideline. That's what he's here for. But I didn't love the ball placement by Drake May. He put it where only Matt Collins could get it. He didn't put it in harm's way where the defender could get a hand on it. But he should put that in front of Matt Collins. He shouldn't put it out of bounds for Matt Collins. So, again, I think there's some things to iron out. I'm not hitting the panic button. I'm not worried. But Drake May ultimately on the day goes 3 for 5 in the air, 12 yards, 4 yards on average, took 1 sack for that strip sack also, 64.6 overall rating. On the ground, I thought he looked a little bit better. I thought he made pretty good decisions. He didn't run too much, but he ran when he needed to, one of which was on third down. Nobody was open. Read that the defense was giving man coverage. What did he do? Nobody was covering him. He ran for the first down. 2 defenders in his face, slid before they got there. 2 attempts, 16 yards, 8 yards per carry, one of which was also a touchdown into the end zone. So I can't even get on Drake May too much just because I thought that the passing game overall in this game wasn't very good from all 3 quarterbacks. I mean, Ben Woolridge was the best one, and we'll talk about him, but I thought overall the passing game struggled quite a bit. All right. Now, as for Josh Dobbs is more disappointing to me than Drake May was, because I said that Josh Dobbs is one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league, and a lot of people are saying that. And I was really excited to see what he could do in the preseason, and we'll see how he bounces back in the final 2 preseason games. But he was someone that I was really excited to see because I thought he would be good in the preseason to give his offense opportunities to actually shine. Good enough ball placement to work against 2s and 3s, and he just did not do that. He was 5 for 12, 45 yards, 9 yards on average, a 52.4 overall quarterback rating. I was just really, really disappointed with the showing that Josh Dobbs put out there on the field. I mean, just overshooting players, undershooting players, whether it was Kyle Williams, whether it was Efton Chisholm. So many plays were left on the field because of Joshua Dobbs, and just multiple times where this team was going 3 and out because of him. So, again, very disappointed in him. I think he was very disappointed in himself. You just hope that he can get it together a little bit, because with Drake May's injury problems from last year, there is a world in which, knock on wood doesn't happen, but there's a world in which you might need Josh Dobbs to play. And if he's going to put that product out there on the field, it's not going to be nearly good enough. As for Ben Woolridge, I thought he started the game off really, 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 really rough, but it feels like he settled in. He didn't get any opportunities in joint practice. He got limited opportunities in training camp, and he was very rough with the football in terms of throwing in the beginning of the game. But he comes out, he settles in, and he starts to look good down the stretch. 9 for 12, 132 yards, 14.7 yards per throw, 1 touchdown, 0 turnovers, a 138.2 overall rating. I do think that his receivers bailed him out at times, but I did think, like I said, as the game went on, guys like Efton Chisholm, guys like John Giles really started to build that connection with Ben Woolridge, and they started to drive down the field a little bit. But moving on to the running game, guys, I'm really, really excited. I am really excited from what we are going to see from this rushing attack this upcoming season. We touched upon earlier how Josh McDaniels, he's going to want to run the football, and we know that. Last year, it was one of the worst run blocking units in terms of the offensive line in the league. And look, I don't need to talk about it, right? We know the issues Ramondre had. We know the issues Gibson had. It feels like those guys were good in the beginning of the season, and then down the stretch just lost it. The potential that we saw with this entire running back core makes me feel like this is going to be easily, undoubtedly, a top 10 rushing unit in the NFL. Ramondre Stevenson, I felt like looked like prime Ramondre. Didn't put the ball on the ground, 7 attempts, 36 yards, 5.1 yards on average. So he averaged just over half a first down per carry, and his long run was 13 yards. Lan Larison, the UDFA running back, looked like Rex Burkhead out there. I mean, this guy's elusiveness, this burst off of the line of scrimmage. He doesn't need time to get into space. All he needs is the football, and he immediately hits top speed. He goes 7 attempts, 35 yards, 5 yards on average with a long run of 16 yards. He was inviting contact, and I thought it was really impressive. Antonio Gibson, too. 6 attempts, 26 yards, 4.3 yards on average, long run of 7. His highlight play of the day was stiff-arming a defender in the red zone and taking it off for a couple of extra yards. Travion Henderson, like I said, 1 attempt, 18 total yards. We didn't see much from him on the ground, but we didn't need to. We saw enough from him to say, yeah, this guy's going to be an absolute dog. Jalen Polk, we didn't see anything from him in the receiving game, but 1 attempt, got an end around in the red zone, took it 1 yard and injured himself. So, yeah, Jalen Polk's done. Jalen Polk is cooked. Jalen Polk is done. He's not making this team But there might be a highlight here, okay? This might actually be a positive, as crazy as that sounds. But because Jalen Polk got injured, based off of all the injuries he's dealt with this offseason, they might not even need to release him. Jalen Polk might qualify as the Foxborough fluke candidate. Put him on IR, end his season, come back next offseason, and you're going to compete for this wide receiver core again. As a second-round pick just a year ago, I don't want to give up on him just yet. I think the injuries have really set him back this offseason. If they can IR him and keep the rights to him without having to put him on the final roster, I think that'd be absolutely huge. But moving on to the receiving game, okay? We said welcome to the NFL, Trevion Henderson, but welcome to the NFL, Efton freaking Chisholm, man. This is a game that he needed to have. I felt like he got quiet during training camp. Great spring between OTAs and minicamp. Had a pretty good day of joint practices where he was targeted 5 times, but I was like, you're going to need to do a little bit more, buddy, to make this final roster, and I want you to. He was the most targeted Patriots player on the day. He also had the most receptions out of all Patriots players on the day. 8 targets, 6 receptions, 50 yards, 8.3 yards on average, 1 touchdown, and a long catch of 20 yards. Honestly, Josh Dobbs missed him on a wide open play that Chisholm would have went for another, 15, 20, maybe even 25 yards. So there were even plays left out there on the field for Chisholm. I thought he was really, really good. Now, I want to see what can he look like with the first team offense. What can he look like going up against harder competition? But I thought that this is definitely a game that Efton Chisholm needed to have. I thought he looked pretty good in the return game also. He needs to continue to string practices like this together. I say this to you guys all the time, but football is what have you done for me lately? And it doesn't matter if Chisholm pops off in this game, but in joint practice next week with the Vikings in the final 2 preseason games, if he becomes quiet, it's still not going to bode well for him. They're not going to say, yeah, you didn't do jack crap the last 2 weeks, but hey, in that one preseason game, you did pretty good. No, he needs to continue to build upon this, but this is exactly what he needed, a step in the right direction to make the final roster. Mike Vrabel even saying in his post-game press conference that the athleticism, just the energy, the grit that Efton Chisholm had, even in the blocking game for these running backs, really stood out to him. And you definitely saw some of that Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman energy out there. I thought Chisholm worked really, really well in traffic, really, really well through contact, and was definitely that security blanket for these quarterbacks when they were at least accurate enough to hit him. So again, is he going to be Danny Amendola? Is he going to be Julian Edelman? Only time is going to tell, but I think immediately off the bat, he can be a Braxton Berrios type guy. And I think that if the Patriots do let Efton Chisholm go, there is going to be another team out there that will put him on their 53. Remember, the Patriots liked Braxton Berrios a few years ago. They wanted him back on the practice squad, but they let him go. And another team finally found that worth in him. The New York Jets picked him up. He was a good complementary receiver for them in the slot. And then he was an elite return man on special teams. So again, I think that's what the ground level is for Efton Chisholm, but Chisholm 100% has the ability to be even better than that. But moving on here to John Giles. John Giles is a guy that we saw last year. I think that, he's not going to make this final roster. I think that John Giles is the new Christian Wilkins. Like a guy who you don't really want to be on your 53-man roster, but if you can get him back on your practice squad, if a receiver goes down at all, John Giles will be a guy that is elevated. I thought he made some pretty good plays. Outside receiver, 6'3", 208 pounds roughly. He is that outside X guy the Patriots have been looking for. And so, again, if you have Matt Collins getting injured, John Giles could be that guy that ultimately gets elevated. 2 targets, 2 receptions, 48 yards, 24 yards on average. Worked really, really well with Ben Woolridge. Webb had a couple of plays also. Jaheim Bell had one designed play. Kind of looked like they were trying to set him up for a screen a little bit of misdirection there. But 1 target, 1 reception for 18 yards. Trevion Henderson, in his 7 snaps, also got into the pass game a little bit. 3 targets, 3 receptions, 12 yards. It just felt like in every facet of the imagination, Trevion Henderson was everything that was advertised. I know I said this a lot, but I'm going to recap it again. 1 kick return attempt, 100-yard touchdown. 1 attempt on the ground game, 18 yards. 3 targets in the receiving game, 3 receptions, averaging 4 yards per reception. I mean, it doesn't get better than that for Travion Henderson. It really, really doesn't. Antonio Gibson, 2 through the air, 1 target, 1 reception, 11 yards. Lan Larison, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 9 yards. Again, Lan Larison, to me, just filling in that Rex Burkhead role perfectly. The ability on special teams, the ability on the ground with the elusiveness as soon as the ball is snapped, the ability through the air to move the sticks a little bit. I mean, Lan Larison hasn't made the roster yet, but based off of what the commentary was saying, there are people inside the Patriots organization that also believe that Lan Larison is very complimentary to Rex Burkhead. And what that tells me is Josh McDaniels thinks that Lan Larison is Rex Burkhead. And Josh McDaniels love to use Rex Burkhead in the rotation. So again, Lan Larison's got to build upon this, but I do think it was a step in the right direction. As for the kicking battle, look, they were both tied. Okay, they were both ultimately tied on the day. Each got a field goal attempt. Each got 3 extra point attempts, which I thought worked out perfectly for this battle, if you will. We all know that what Andy Borregales has going for himself is that he was a rookie 6th-round pick. They used a draft pick on him. He was the first kicker taken in this draft class. But they're going to go with a guy who is better, who's more consistent. And I do still think that Andy Borregales has the lead slightly over John Parker Romo. And while they were technically tied today, John Parker Romo hit from 57 yards. The Patriots' all-time field goal distance is 58 yards from Gostowski. So John Parker Romo was very, very close from setting a new potential record in New England. So yes, they were technically tied on the day, but for the day, I actually give John Parker Romo the nod because both guys made every single kick that they were given, all the opportunities they were given, but John Parker Romo hitting from 57, that definitely stood him out more for me. One thing I will say, too, is that I do think this special teams unit is going to be very, very underrated. In 2023 and 2022, they were one of the worst graded special teams units in the league. Last year, they bumped all the way up to number 2, according to PFF. And more specifically, in the kick return game, blocked beautifully. I don't know what Jeremy Springer is doing. I don't know what he's teaching these guys, but continue to frickin' do it. The blocking was beautiful in this game. Travion Henderson, 100-yard touchdown. Antonio Gibson had a 62-yard return. You had Lan Larison with a 25-yard return. I thought the kick returners were exceptional in this game, and that's going to go a long way into helping the offense being put in good position to then drive down the field and put up as many points as possible. As for the defense, I thought that I was a little bit disappointed with the pass rush. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting a little bit more, especially from the starting defensive line, but you didn't have all guys out there. So let's keep that in mind, right? Christian Barmore wasn't out there. You did have, where's the snap counts? So you did have Milton Williams out there for honestly a little bit longer than I thought he was going to play. He played in a total of 18% of the Patriots' defensive snaps with 13 total of them. I thought that Milton Williams had some good pressures. I thought he would do a little bit more, but again, I thought he looked pretty good out there, considering that not the entire starting defensive line was out there. I thought what stole the day was the Patriots secondary. Okay, you had Alex Austin out there. I thought he looked really, really good. He had 1 pass breakup. Didn't do anything crazy, but I thought he was pretty much shut down for the majority of the game. I thought he did really well. Picked up where he left off in joint practices. DJ James, the cornerback. I keep wanting to say UDFA. I keep getting DJ James and Battle mixed up. But DJ James was a 6th-round pick by Seattle in the 2024 draft. He doesn't do much. They let him go. The Patriots pick him up. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody's talking about him. Balls out in training camp. Balls out in joint practice. Balled out today. 3 tackles, 1 interception, 1 pass defended. DJ James is making this roster. I promise you that. I'm standing on business. He's 6 foot, gives them depth there at outside cornerback, something that they need with the issues of Gonzo and Carlton Davis dealing with their respective injuries. I think your outside corners are going to be Gonzo, Carlton Davis, DJ James, and Alex Austin, and I think that is a much improved group compared to what it was last year. I don't know how they do it, but no matter what the system is here in New England, they just find ways to find diamond in the roughs here in the secondary. Not just that too, but, you also had Where is it? You also had Polk make some plays. Now, I will say, a lot of people are trying to say, can Polk make the roster now? I don't think he does. I think he makes the practice squad. He did have an interception on the day, but he was still one of PFF's worst graded Patriots from this game. I thought that Jalen Hawkins also looked really, really good. I thought that he delivered some key blows. I mean, one of which, the wide receiver, I forget who it was for the Commanders, catches the ball, easy catch. You just see Jalen Hawkins haul ass to the ball. Hits him so hard, the ball flies up in the air and it's incomplete. I thought that Jalen Hawkins was making plays like that all night long, to where he allowed a lot of receptions for sure, but their receptions were for very minimal gains. They were only for a couple of yards. Why? Because Jalen Hawkins has really good closing speed and football awareness, to where as soon as he recognized where the quarterback was going, he hauled ass to the receiver and stopped them in their tracks. Tackling was an issue for this Patriots defense, I will say. More specifically in the run game, tackling was an issue, but a guy that didn't have those issues was Jalen Hawkins. He, to me, is definitely making this roster. He played in, let me see. So Hawkins played in 38% of the Patriots defensive snaps with 27. I would be surprised if he does not make this roster. The other thing I'll say too, number 54, Truman Jones, okay? Defensive end, not a lot of people are talking about him. I thought Elijah Ponder could be like a low-key guy who makes this final roster, UDFA, but I don't know. It might be Truman Jones, guys. Truman Jones got a lot of respect from Mike Vrabel. He was one of Mike Vrabel's winners of training camp, and I thought that he was good in pass rush. I thought that he was around the football a lot today. I mean, as a defensive end, you would think that this guy's a linebacker. I thought that he showed out at times. We'll see if he can continue to build upon it, but a guy that can just be around the football at every single play, I mean, that is something that will stand out to Mike Vrabel. I thought that, I thought Battle had a couple of good plays at times, had a pass breakup. I thought he had a couple of good moments there. I did think that Marcus Jones, now, keep in mind, Marcus Jones was playing outside cornerback, but I do think he got picked on a couple of times. There was one point early on in the game where he allowed a reception. Thankfully, knocked the ball out at the end. Receiver didn't survive the ground. It was an incomplete pass, but the receiver just pushed off of Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones flies back a little bit, and it's just an easy reception on the receiver. So was a little bit disappointed what I saw in coverage from Marcus Jones, but let's also keep in mind he was playing outside corner when realistically he should be playing more in the slot. But yeah, guys, that is my takeaway for the New England Patriots here in preseason game week 1. I thought that it was a really, really good showing by this team. I thought that what this team really needs, okay? What this team really needed was a morale booster. And they got that. So for anybody that is in the chat that might be like, why does this matter? Why does it matter that the Patriots put up 48 points against the Commanders in the preseason? It matters because whether this win or loss means anything to you, what it does do is it brings the locker room together. You see the direction of this coaching staff and Mike Vrabel. You see that with the Patriots having 4 or 5 former head coaches in the building, what that has done to these players in terms of discipline and just overall football knowledge, putting them in positions to succeed, understanding the fundamentals of football, and just being in a place where, again, they can succeed. This is going to go a long way. Now, look, if the Patriots blow out the Commanders this week, but next week they get blown out by the Vikings, okay, well, now we're back to square one. Right now this win doesn't matter. But if the Patriots can build upon this big morale boost and they can come together in the locker room and they can start playing for each other and having fun, because that's what this game did. If they can take this game and run away with it, and they can bring that momentum into the Vikings practice, they can bring that momentum into the Giants preseason game, and then they can take that momentum into the regular season, this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'm not telling you they're going to win the Super Bowl. But what I'm telling you is that they are going to be a team to watch moving forward in this league. Maybe not necessarily 2025, but 2025, 2026. So I'm going to start this team coming together a little bit. I just have not seen this team play this well in terms of lack of penalties, fundamental football, playing together as a unit, just a big morale boost, absolutely blowing a team out like the Washington Commanders, who are very well coached. I think that says a lot. I think that says a lot about this team. But this is where I kick it off to you guys. What are your thoughts about the product the Patriots put out on the field, absolutely dominating the Washington Commanders 48-18? Let me know in the comment section below. We will have winners and losers dropping for you guys either Sunday or Monday. So either tomorrow or Monday, we'll have winners or losers dropping for you guys from this game. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Leave a big like on the video. And of course, subscribe to the channel for all your New England Patriots news. You guys know that that does support me tremendously. But until next time, I appreciate you guys for kicking it with me. Appreciate you guys for kicking it with me during the live watch party also. And until next time, go Pats.